Hey guys, welcome in, welcome in. It's Wednesday night. Happy hump day to everyone. As you guys are coming into the live, I welcome you with open arms, with happy fingers, happy Wednesday fingers. That was so corny. I'm sorry. I apologize. No, I don't. So anyway, welcome in. As you guys know, we're talking this week about this book right here, Codependent No More, as part of our 30 books in 30 weeks reading series. And Codependent No More is a game changer of a book. It was for me, and I know that if you invest some time with this book, hey Gregory, welcome. If you invest some time with this book, it'll be a game changer for you too. If you are someone who is codependent, and I think like 70 to 80% of the population actually is. So that's just my unofficial guesstimate. But so invite people in, share this live stream out. It's definitely a subject matter worth investing in. And for those of you who may be joining for the very first time and maybe who don't really know who I am, aren't clear about what it is that I do, my name is Marcy Batiste. I'm a public speaker, I'm an author, I'm a trainer, and I am a recovery coach. I basically help women shine. That's what I love to do. I love to help them discover and fully embrace their star power. And so 2018 is about taking 1,000 women on this journey, taking this mission, one woman at a time, one sister at a time, and really lighting the fire for one another and building a community. So as you guys come into these lives, it's like you joining the journey and you joining part of that raising the bar community to help build up all these rising stars and encourage other people and other women especially to truly let their light shine. In addition to that, I have a company called Bankable Success Advisors, which is a leading recovery solutions provider. And basically with that, I help businesses and individuals optimize their personal time, emotional, and financial investments to get the best return for that investment. And so on the business side, it's domestic and workplace violence, education and awareness, as well as business contingency planning. And then on the personal side, it's individual trauma recovery. So that might be domestic violence. It might be childhood traumas such as molestation. It might be adult traumas, rape, sexual assaults, physical assaults. It could be just a whole host of things. And it's self-esteem is a big part of it. And this subject right here, codependency, is a huge part of seeking recovery from past fears, flaws, failures, the whole 9 yards. So that gives you guys sort of a quick overview of who I am, what I do, what my specialty is, curing emotional bankruptcy. My passion is the star power of my sisters and the women in the community. So I'm dedicated to this 1,000 women in 2018, and I'm excited for you guys to join me. And this week we've been talking about the book Codependent No More, and we've been talking about what it looks like to be a codependent. How does that manifest itself? What are some of the characteristics of the codependent individual, or since most of my work is with women, codependent women, but certainly women are not, don't have the market cornered on codependency. So let's not forget that this is, has no gender boundaries, has no racial boundaries, has no socioeconomic boundaries. Much like domestic violence, codependency crosses all boundaries and affects, like I said earlier, probably 70 to 80% of the population. Hey, Philip. So I titled this, You're Not a Victim, because oftentimes, hey, Scott, how are you, honey? Oftentimes, people who are codependent tend to voluntarily place themselves in this victim role and walk around with what I would call a victim's mentality. And those of you who know me in the domestic violence arena, I always say that I'm a domestic violence champion. You don't hear me use the word domestic violence victim in relation to myself, because truly, in my mind, victims lose their voice. They don't have a voice anymore. And so you've got survivors, you've got warriors, and you've got champions. And I think of codependency much of the same way, because the healing journey and the solutions for recovery look very, very similar to overcoming domestic violence and assaults. So it's not uncommon for a codependent to have this victim's mentality, hallmark traits. They're caretakers. They're what they call, the book refers to them as rescuers. And so they're always out there wanting to rescue this person or that person, and they're constantly attracting people into their universe and putting out this energy, this vibe that pulls these people in who need to be rescued and want to be rescued. And if they happen to attract someone, and this is, listen to this, they happen to attract someone who's not in need of rescuing, in need of caretaking, then the behaviors that the codependent exhibits creates that in the other person. They teach people to be dependent on them. They teach people to they become an enabler. And basically enabling someone is just a really destructive way to say you're a helper. But you're a helper in a destructive way. It's not good for the person, the subject that you're helping, and it's not good for you. So even when the people don't start out in a codependent relationship, if you get into a relationship with someone who is codependent, they will create that in you if you allow it. So it's important to people who are codependent to recognize these signs and symptoms. And it's important to people who, as you're getting into new relationships, to know the signs and symptoms to look for, because you don't want to find yourself, 6, 8, 9 months, 10 months down the road, 5 years down the road, and realize, oh my gosh, like this person is obsessed with me. So even if you're not the codependent, you want to know the signs so that you don't fall for that okie doke, because they can create an environment of codependency, even if you didn't start out that way. A lot of codependents have a history of being abused, and so being a victim becomes normal. I know, like I shared with you guys on earlier videos this week, that was my experience because of things that happened to me in my childhood. Hey, Eve. I knew that I had been victimized as a young girl when I was 12. And so for me, that victim, kind of thinking that I was unlovable, and that people, men in particular, really didn't mean me any good because I hadn't had a history of positive experiences with the opposite sex. And so that victim mentality kind of sort of was in my cortex. And so I had to literally, as I became, started getting healthy and started healing and finding recovery, I had to heal all of those mindsets and heal all of those thought processes and replace them with something else. And so you guys hear me talk an awful lot about how you have to reframe the story. You have to detach. That was the thing we were talking about yesterday, is detachment. You got to detach from it. And part of that detachment process then is reprogramming how you think, and understanding that you're not a victim. Codependency is optional. It can be cured. It can be healed. Hey, Chad, thanks for joining. Codependency becomes sort of a coping mechanism for people who have a history of abusive experiences. And so, you get to a point where you want someone to take care of you, and you want someone who's going to sort of assume responsibility over your happiness. That's not realistic. Can't nobody make you happy but you, just like we talked about last week. Nobody makes you happy but you. Nobody makes you mad but you. You are solely and wholly your soul provider. SOUL provider. You are responsible for you. You're responsible for your happiness. You're responsible for all of the emotions that go along with it. And you are 100% responsible for teaching people how to be in relation with you. And if you are not in a healthy relationship with yourself, certainly you're going to struggle to create a healthy environment for someone else to be in relation with you. So I want, as you guys think about codependency and you think about what recovery from it looks like, remembering that it's not a victim, it's a victim's mentality. You are not a victim of codependency. You have a victim's mentality that the world is always out for you, that people are always out against you. And really, a lot of times what it amounts to is simply changing your circle. And so I'll say all the time, like, you got to square off your circle, and you have to be real strategic and real intentional about the people that you allow around you. And you have to be strategic and intentional in building healthy relationships with people and building healthy boundaries. And so one of the things that we'll talk about later in this week, which is huge for me, is building boundaries and the difference between boundaries and building up walls, because they're not the same thing. And oftentimes people think, well, I got a wall up. That's not necessarily a good thing, because you can keep that, you can definitely wall in a whole lot of negative stuff just as easily as you can wall out some positive stuff. So boundaries will definitely come up as part of the recovery process. Knowing how to create healthy boundaries is a recovery solution for codependency. So we'll definitely get into that. But tonight I just really wanted to kind of drop on everyone's heart that you're not a victim. No matter what's going on, you're not a victim. You are stronger than you think. You are more capable than you think. You are smarter than you think. And you're more adaptable than people give you credit for. And don't let anybody tell you that you have to stay where you are. You have to stay in the mindset that you're in. All of that's a choice. And if you have the tools in your toolbox, and that's really what this is, you guys. This is about putting tools into your toolbox. And so every single week when we talk about these new books, this 30 books in 30 weeks personal development reading series, this reading challenge is about putting tools into your toolbox. My clients get deeper dives on this. They get to start practicing some of these techniques and these strategies and putting them into practice in their lives, and they see results because the tools work. You just need the right tools in your toolbox to pull from at any given moment. So I hope that helps. Happy Hump Day. I appreciate you guys for joining in. Like I said, if you haven't already shared this, please do so. If you have questions about codependency, if you have questions, hey Leo, if you have questions about recovery and being able to move away from that victim's mentality into a championship mentality, let me know. And if you want to join the Raising the Bar community, just inbox me. We're welcoming women into the community to find their star power and embrace their star power. So I'm excited to hear from you guys, but as always, I appreciate your investing some time with me, watching this live stream and connecting with me. So I love you. I appreciate you. And as always, you guys, thanks for living life on Mars, and we'll talk soon.